Well, let me ask you this. One last thing on Jeff Hardy and AEW. Looking past the fact that the Young Bucks control the tag team division, and the Young Bucks get along with the Hardys, and the Young Bucks grew up loving the Hardys, and they're going to want to do something with them. Looking past that, how would you book Jeff Hardy in AEW? Would you go right to a Hardy Boys reunion, despite the fact that Matt has really been involved with awful stuff since the moment he got there, and it's never been worse than it is now? Well, he was teleporting. That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Now I kind of wish he would go to one of those other dimensions and come back with something else.
Now, at least then he was attracting attention for people to scoff at. Now it's just he's there in the stairwell somewhere. Therein lies a problem, the way that and I know that they couldn't have foreseen they would get Jeff Hardy this easily, that the other side would just, oh, here, Jeff, go be free and fly away from your contract and go work for these people. But that's the problem with having signed a major name like Matt Hardy, then putting him in matches where you tried to kill him, give him brain damage, and then when you saw that was a bad idea, take him out of the ring and make him a bad manager for underneath talent that is involved in silly segments. And now all of a sudden, you got a chance to put the Hardy Boys back together, but one of them has been a immaterial goof for months. Remember when I started Smoky Mountain Wrestling, I was booking Robert Gibson in singles matches, right?
Right, because Ricky was still with WCW.
Exactly. But did I shoot Robert Gibson into the main event picture because he was still half of the Rock and Roll Express, the most famous, over-popular babyface tag team of the previous 10 years at that point? This was 1992. Or did I just book him on shows in the middle of the card? He won most of his matches. He was in a couple of little personal issues just for him to be involved with and get it and go over in the end. But he was neither used as a single in the main event picture or was beaten as a single in the underneath matches. He was kept right there because I knew that sooner or later I was going to get Ricky Morton, because I knew the way they were using him in WCW. He was making money, but he wasn't happy, and they probably weren't going to continue that very long. So instead of leading Robert Gibson in a different direction, I just kept him warm and a part of the program until we could get Ricky Morton. Then Ricky comes in, his partner has been undamaged, but now we could actually sell a reunion. And that's what worked. That was one of the first things that really gave the people goosebumps down there in Smoky Mountain, was the reuniting of the Rock and Roll Express. I can understand him using Matt as a top singles guy when they first started, because he's a name and has been for quite some time and used to be able to work. And maybe he was trying to do too much of the kids' shit and not making them do his shit, so why he kept getting hurt, whatever. But after that, why turn a guy with a name like that into a flunky, goofy, phony, fucking underneath, flustered, incompetent manager doing interviews in a stairwell? He's got the money, Tony does. If he didn't have anything better for Matt than that, just send him home for 6 months. And then boom, now you'd have Matt and Jeff Hardy, and Matt would not have to be living down the uselessness and the tomfoolery of what he's been doing the past however long. So maybe the only thing I can see, you asked a question, do you bring him and reunite him right away? Of course, you bring Jeff in to fucking, and not in the stairway, do it in front of people. But unless you think that the massive channel change would kill Jeff Hardy's debut, have the Hardy family office in the ring and Andre Oliolio and every goofball that he's involved with, and have Jeff Hardy come out and say, brother, have you lost your fucking mind? What has happened to you? Come here with me and let's go back to Cameron and talk about this. And he pulls him out, and then you hear from the Hardys from Cameron for a few weeks And each week, Matt seems more like his old self, his normal self. The best interview that Matt Hardy has done on AEW television was when he came out that one week and said from now on he's going to be himself and he was going to do normal shit like a normal human. Have Jeff rehabilitate his brother from the goofiness and the idiocy and the tomfoolery and the subpar talent, and then they make a splash when they come in as and they're the Hardy Boys. They don't have to dress in the same way if they want to update something a little bit. They're 20 years older, but they're the fucking Hardy Boys. They're one of the top tag teams in history, and that's who they are, and the people hopefully would love it. But you've got to, I would think at this point, they can't just reunite and just book Matt in main event matches like none of this has happened. You have to explain to the people that Jeff, his brother, have finally intervened because he was afraid for Matt's well-being with his foolishness he was doing, and he got his head screwed back on straight. That might work.